Hey folks, Tim Newman with Lite Studios bringing you another daily assignment. Today's assignment for July 11th, 2019. Today's assignment is titled All Architecture, and that's exactly what we want you to do. We want you to capture a collection of architecture images from the architecture that surrounds you in your daily life and look for some really compelling images that capture the lines, shapes, forms, and structure that exists in the buildings around you. Let's take a look at a couple of sample images. This one's simple enough. It's just simply a fire escape, but as a black and white image, I think it's really compelling because it has an excellent nod towards lines, symmetry, patterns, and certainly tonal balance. In our next image, we see a picture of the Gehry Pavilion at Grant Park in Chicago, Illinois. Now, I think the construction of the pavilion is absolutely wonderful. There's really long, graceful, sweeping lines here, and I think it fits incredibly well into the surrounding downtown Chicago skyscrapers. So there's another one that you can work with, and I think you can see the lines and the symmetry and the patterns that are obvious here. Plus, as someone who loves to shoot long exposure images, I really feel like the long exposure aspect of the clouds here works quite well. Let's take a look at some of the elements of design that concern us the most. If you're thinking about architecture, you're obviously thinking about lines and shapes and the form that is created by looking at those from a three-dimensional perspective. Symmetry is clearly important, and patterns also come into play as well. Let's take a look at some more sample images. This image here is from the West Side Yards in New York City. And this is an area that many developers have wanted to take a crack at literally for years. And I really love the leading lines of all of the subway trains all connecting together there at the West Side Terminal. This is right outside of Penn Central Station. So you can imagine the amount of traffic and the hustle and bustle that's here. I won't even go into how this shot was captured because it's a whole nother story. Maybe we'll put that up as a composition topic in a future video here next week. Our next image here is from the Thompson State Office Building in Chicago, Illinois. This is a really very interesting building, and I think you can see the symmetry, the lines, and the patterns that work here. And I would even submit to you, as an image that's round, it still has a pretty strong feel for a rule of thirds. Our last image here really should tell you that you don't have to work the entire building. There are tons of shapes and forms and structures that exist in the interior buildings, such as this scene that we're seeing here from the Rookery Building in Chicago, Illinois. But don't forget to look for those interior elements or those close-up elements that can really solidify a composition for you. All right, let's take a look at some of the rules of composition that we're going to be concerning ourselves with here. Rule of thirds, always important. I feel like we use that one over and over again, but it's that important. It's a great way to divide up the scene. If you can't do the rule of thirds, certainly think about diagonal lines or intersecting triangles or the perfect ratio, things like that. Those all matter there and can all work really, really well in architecture. Point of view matters here. If you think back to some of these images looking at the West Side Yards in New York, our point of view is critical there. The Thompson Building in Chicago, that point of view is critical there as well. It really anchors us in the place that we want to be, in the image that takes our viewers' eyes and draws them right into the center. Last but not least, geometric balance is certainly going to come into play here, and it's going to help you to really balance out your images and differentiate subject from background. All right, let's take a look at one last slide here. Here are our export parameters if you are going to export and submit a file to us for consideration for the semi-monthly critique that we hold. You can also see an example of a naming standard there, which would be the date that this image was assigned, 3 letters from your last name, 3 letters from your first name, and if you're going to submit multiple images, just number them like you see being done here. All right, our upload URL is down there at the bottom. Of course, we never make anybody type this out. The URL will be provided for you in the description below this video, which is darn convenient when you consider it's right next to the subscribe button that I really don't know why you haven't clicked on by now. Hey, thanks for joining us today. Have fun with this assignment. And remember, as we always say, learning equals skills. Practice equals mastery. We'll see you out there.